The observation room hummed with alien voices as Tae Kim regained consciousness. His head throbbed, and he felt cold metal against his back. The bright lights hurt his eyes. He tried to move his arms, but strong restraints held him down. Memories came back in pieces. His salvage ship, a strange light, then nothing. Tae blinked several times, trying to focus. The room around him was white and clean. Strange machines beeped and flashed. Through a glass wall, he could see tall, thin creatures moving around. They had grey skin that looked almost like metal. Their heads were too big for their bodies, with huge black eyes that didn't blink. "Subject is awake," said one of the aliens. Its voice sounded like metal scraping on metal. This one wore a silver coat and seemed to be the leader, long, six-fingered. Hands tapped on a screen that floated in the air. This one shows exceptional physical parameters compared to previous human specimens. Tae pulled against his restraints. They were strong, but he had seen this type before. In his 8 years with Earth's Special Tactical Division, he had been captured twice by enemy forces. He had escaped both times. He would escape again. He looked around carefully, counting 4 cameras in the corners of the room. 6 aliens watched him through the glass. None carried weapons that he could see, but small robots floated near the ceiling. Tae kept his breathing steady, hiding his fear. "Why am I here?" he asked. His voice came out stronger than he expected. The alien in the silver coat walked closer to the glass. Now Tae could see it had no nose, just 2 small holes in its face. Its mouth was a thin line without lips. "Your species fascinates us, human. Primitive yet remarkably adaptable," said the alien. Its mouth barely moved when it spoke. "I am lead researcher Vex of the Galactic Consortium. You have been selected for a special behavioral study." Tae remembered now. His ship had picked up a distress signal near the asteroid belt. When he approached to help, a larger ship appeared and caught his small vessel in some kind of beam. The last thing he remembered was a gas filling his cabin. "How many others have you taken?" Tae asked, trying to gather information. Vex tilted his large head. "You are the 47th human in our studies. The previous specimens provided valuable data, but none had your military training and physical condition." A cold feeling spread through Tae's stomach. What had happened to those other humans? "And if I refuse to be your lab rat?" Tae asked, keeping his voice level. The alien's mouth stretched in what might have been a smile, but looked more like a crack in a mask. "Participation is not optional. The consortium's research continues regardless of subject consent." Vex turned to another alien. "Law, prepare him for transfer to Habitat 7. Standard protocols." Tae tried a different approach. "The Earth Alliance will come looking for me. We have treaties with 16 different alien civilizations." Vex made a sound like small bells. Tae realized it was laughter. "Your Earth Alliance believes you died in an asteroid collision. Your distress beacon was destroyed. No one is searching for you, Tae Kim." Hearing his name shocked Tae. They had accessed his ship's records. How much did they know about Earth? About humans? A smaller alien approached with a tray of tools. Tae recognized needles and medical equipment. He struggled harder against his restraints. "What are you going to do to me?" he demanded. "Simply prepare you for the experiment," Vex explained. "We need to implant tracking and monitoring devices. You will also receive nutritional supplements and immunizations." The smaller alien pressed something against Tae's neck. A sharp pain made him wince. "What kind of experiment?" Tae asked, fighting to stay alert as a warm feeling spread from his neck. "An ecological integration test," Vex said. "We want to observe human adaptability in a controlled environment with other species." Tae's vision started to blur. The drugs were taking effect. He tried to focus on Vex's words. "This will be our most ambitious test yet," Vex continued. "Previous human subjects were paired with non-predatory species. You, however, will test our hypothesis about human problem-solving under extreme pressure." Tae felt his eyelids growing heavy. The ceiling above him seemed to move like water. "Sedative taking effect," reported the smaller alien. "Vital signs stabilizing." Vex moved away from the glass. "Prepare Habitat 7. Ensure the Draconis specimens are in position, but not directly at the entry point. We want to give him at least a few minutes to orient himself." As mist filled the chamber, Tae fought to stay conscious. Through the fog of Drugs, he heard Vex speaking to another alien. Place my bet for 6 hours survival time, Lore. The dragons haven't been fed in 3 cycles. Dragons? Tay tried to speak, to ask questions, but his mouth wouldn't work. The room spun around him as darkness crept in from the edges of his vision. The last thing he saw was Vex watching him with those large black eyes, not with hatred or anger, but with something worse, scientific curiosity. To these aliens, he wasn't a person, he was a test subject, an experiment. Then darkness took him completely. Tay opened his eyes to bright light. His head hurt. He lay on soft dirt, not the hard metal table from before. Trees and plants surrounded him. Above, a blue sky stretched as far as he could see. Birds called from somewhere nearby. But something felt wrong. He sat up slowly, touching the back of his neck where a small bump showed where they had put something. Inside him. A tracker, probably. Tay looked up again at the sky. Now he noticed a tiny flicker in the blue, like a screen with a bad connection. This wasn't a real sky. It was fake. Tay stood on shaky legs. The air smelled like earth and plants, but with a strange clean smell underneath. Not like a real forest. He turned in a circle, trying to see where he was. The trees looked real enough, with green leaves and brown trunks. A small stream ran nearby. In the distance, tall rock walls rose up on all sides. A cage, Tay whispered. A big cage made to look like outside. He heard a faint hum from somewhere above. Machines. This was Habitat 7, the place Vex had mentioned, a zoo for aliens to watch him. Tay took a step toward the stream, thinking about water, when the ground shook beneath his feet. A low rumble filled the air like distant thunder, but it didn't come from the sky. It came from the trees ahead. The leaves moved. Something large pushed through them. Tay froze. A giant head appeared first. It looked like a lizard, but bigger than any lizard Tay had ever seen. Its head alone was the size of a car. The creature stepped into the open, and Tay's mouth fell open. It was a dragon. Not the kind from fairy tales, but close enough. It stood on 4 thick legs with a long neck and tail. Shiny scales covered its body, changing color in the light from blue to green to purple. Its eyes were yellow with black slits in the middle, and they looked right at Tay. 2 more dragons followed the first. One was even bigger, with old scars across its face and body. The third was the smallest, but still twice Tay's size. They spread out, moving to surround him. Tay's heart beat fast. Everything in him wanted to run, but his training told him not to. He remembered lessons from Earth's jungles and mountains. Running makes predators chase you. Show fear, and you become prey. Instead, Tay planted his feet firmly on the ground. He stood straight and tall, making himself bigger. He chose the smallest dragon and stared right into its eyes. The dragon didn't like this. It hissed, showing teeth as long as Tay's fingers. The skin around its neck puffed out into bright red fans like an angry umbrella. Its tail whipped back and forth, hitting a small tree and breaking it. Tay didn't move. He didn't blink. He kept staring. The dragon stepped closer. Tay could smell its hot breath now, like metal and smoke. Still, he didn't move. 1 minute passed. Then 2. The dragon hissed again, but it seemed confused. The other 2 dragons watched, waiting. Then something strange happened. The small dragon made a soft noise in its throat. It lowered its head and stepped back. The bright fans around its neck folded away. After another moment, it turned and walked several steps away. The other dragons looked at each other. Then they too backed away, following the small one. Tay let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. His legs felt weak, but he had won the first battle. In the control room far away, Vex stared at his screens. The datapad in his hand fell to the floor with a clatter. "Impossible," he said, his voice high and tight. "The Draconis never yield. They should have attacked immediately." Lore picked up the fallen datapad. "Perhaps the human smells bad to them." "No," Vex said, leaning closer to the screen. "Something else is happening. Keep all cameras on them. I want to see everything." Back in the habitat, Tay waited until the dragons disappeared into the trees before he moved. His mouth was dry. He needed water. The stream was clear and cold. Tay tasted it carefully before drinking. It seemed safe. Next, he needed shelter and food. Over the next 3 days, Tay worked hard to survive. He found which plants he could eat by watching small animals in the habitat. Some berries tasted sweet. Roots from one plant were like potatoes. He made tools from stones and sticks. A sharp rock tied to a branch became a spear. Thin vines worked as rope. He built a small shelter against the habitat wall, where rocks formed a natural cave. He could see anyone approaching, but they would have trouble seeing him. The dragons watched him from a distance. They never came too close, but they never went far away either. The small one seemed curious. The middle one seemed nervous, but it was the biggest dragon that watched Tai the most. She was huge, with old battle scars across her face and sides. One eye was cloudy, but the other was clear and bright. When she looked at Tai, he didn't see just animal hunger. He saw something else. Something like thinking. On the fourth day, Tai decided to name them. The curious small one he called Jin. The nervous middle one became Min. And the big scarred female, the one who watched him with that intelligent eye, he named Sun. "Hello, Sun," he said one evening, sitting by his small fire. The big dragon lay on a rock 100 steps away, her eye reflecting the firelight. "I think you and I might not be so different. We're both trapped here." Sun didn't move, but her eye blinked slowly. Tai had the strange feeling she understood him. In the control room, Vex watched the screens all night. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat. His eyes never left the human who had somehow, impossibly, made the most dangerous creatures in the consortium's collection back down. "What are you?" he whispered to the screen. "And what will you do next?" Tai woke up on the 7th day to a strange sound. A soft buzzing filled the air. He stepped out of his shelter and looked up. Small metal objects flew across the fake sky. They were round and shiny, with red lights blinking on their sides. "Drones," Tai said to himself. He knew what these were. He had fought against such machines during his time in Earth's army. He grabbed his stone spear and watched the drones. They moved in patterns, searching. Tai stayed still, hoping they would pass, but then one turned toward him, its red light growing brighter. The drone shot down fast. Tai rolled away just in time. A sharp spike hit the ground where he had stood. The spike sparked with electricity. More drones came. Tai ran toward the trees, dodging and ducking. One drone flew too close. Tai swung his spear and hit it hard. The drone crashed into a tree and broke apart. A loud roar shook the air. Tai turned to see Sun, the big dragon, fighting 3 drones. She snapped at them with her huge jaws, but they were too fast. They flew around her head, making her angry. One drone shot a spike that hit Sun's side. She roared in pain. The spike stayed in her skin, sending sparks into her body. Sun fell to the ground, her breath coming fast. The drones flew away, their job done. Tai waited, hidden, until they were gone. His arm hurt. Looking down, he saw a cut where a spike had grazed him. It wasn't deep, but it burned. From his hiding place, Tai watched Sun. The big dragon tried to stand, but fell again. The spike in. Her side kept hurting her. Tai thought for a long time. The smart thing would be to stay away. Sun was dangerous, but something inside him couldn't leave her like that. When night came, Tai gathered plants. During his days in the habitat, he had found which plants helped with pain and cuts. He mixed them with water to make a thick paste. Carrying his medicine, Tai walked slowly towards Sun. The big dragon lay on her side, breathing hard. Her good eye watched him come closer. "Easy," Tai said softly. He held his empty hand out, palm, to show he had no weapons. "I'm trying to help," Sun growled, but it was weak. She was in too much pain to fight. Tai came closer, one small step at a time. "The spike has to come out," he said. His voice stayed calm, even though his heart beat fast. "It's hurting you more the longer it stays." When he was close enough to touch her, Tai put down his medicine. Moving very slowly, he reached for the spike in Sun's side. The dragon's scales were hot under his hand. He could feel her heart beating. In one quick move, Tai pulled the spike out. Sun roared, her tail hitting the ground hard. But she didn't bite him. She didn't attack. Tai put the healing paste on her wound. "This will help," he said. "It stops pain and fights sickness." As Tai worked, he noticed something strange. Sun's neck frills moved in patterns. Her tail tapped the ground in a way that seemed like more than just pain. Her good eye never left his face. "You're trying to talk to me, aren't you?" Tay asked quietly. "They don't understand. You're not just animals." Sun blinked slowly. Her neck frills spread wide, then pulled back. To Tay, it almost looked like a nod. In the control room, Vex and Lore watched the screens with big eyes. "What is the human doing?" Lore asked. "He should be running away." Vex leaned closer to the screen. "The human is helping the Draconis female. This is unexpected." "Should we stop it?" Lore asked. "No," Vex said. "This is the most interesting data we have ever collected. I want to see what happens next." Every day after that, Tay checked Sun's wound. It healed quickly. The big dragon let him come close now. Sometimes Jin and Min, the smaller dragons, watched. From a distance, Tay began to study how the dragons talked to each other. Their neck frills, their tail movements, the sounds they made. It all meant something. He started copying them. When Sun moved her frills up and down, Tay would do the same with his hands. When Min made a soft clicking sound, Tay would click his tongue. Slowly they made a simple way to talk. Tay learned that the dragons were smart. Very smart. They weren't from Earth, but from a far planet. The aliens had taken them, just like they had taken Tay. One day, Tay showed Sun a picture. He had drawn in the dirt, a circle with smaller circles around it. "Home," he said, pointing to one of the small circles. "Earth, my home." Sun looked at the drawing. She used her claw to make 3 deep marks near another circle. Tay understood. "That's your home. You have 3 moons." Sun's eye blinked slowly. "Yes, in the control center." Lore couldn't believe what he saw. "The human is demonstrating unclassified behaviors," he reported, his voice shaking. "He's communicating with the specimens. They're sharing information." Vex's thin fingers tapped on his screen. His large eyes narrowed as he watched Tay and Sun. "This changes everything," Vex said. "No species has ever managed to communicate with the Draconis before. The human is more adaptable than we thought." "Should we end the experiment?" Lore asked. "End it?" "No, this is just getting interesting." Vex's mouth stretched into that strange smile. "Increase experimental pressure. I want to see how far this alliance extends." Lore looked worried. "What kind of pressure? More drones, harder ones, and less food?" Vex's eyes never left the screen. "Let's see what they do when survival gets more difficult." Back in the habitat, Tay sat beside Sun under the stars. Even though they were fake stars, they were still pretty. Sun's wound was almost healed now. "I think we're going to need each other," Tay told the dragon. "Those aliens aren't done with us yet." Sun's frills moved in agreement. Her tail curled protectively around where Tay sat. They weren't friends, not exactly, but they were no longer enemies. They were survivors, and together they might find a way out. 2 weeks had passed since Tay and Sun first helped each other. The drones came more often now. Food was harder to find. Sometimes parts of the habitat filled with green gas that made breathing difficult, but instead of breaking down, Tay and the dragons grew stronger together. On this morning, Tay stood near a large boulder. The rock was almost as tall as he was. Sun, Min, and Jin waited nearby, watching him carefully. "We need what's under this rock," Tay explained, pointing to where a small metal object was half buried in the dirt. It was a maintenance drone that had crashed yesterday. These machines fix things in the habitat when they broke. Tay wanted its parts. "Again," Tay said, gesturing toward the boulder. He showed with his hands how they should push. Sun moved to one side of the rock. Min and Jin took positions on the other sides. Tay had taught them this over many days. At first, the dragons didn't understand working together. Now they moved like they had done this their whole lives. Tay gave the signal. All 3 dragons pushed at the same time. The huge rock rolled over, crushing the drone with a satisfying crunch. Under the broken metal shell, Tay saw what he wanted, an access panel with wires and small computer parts. "Good," Tay told the dragons. He made the hand signal they understood as praise. All 3 dragons raised their neck frills in what Tay now knew was their way of showing happiness. In the control room, Vex and Lore watched with wide eyes. "What is he doing?" Lore asked, his voice shaking. "That drone has important parts." Vex leaned forward, his thin fingers gripping the edge of his desk. "He's taking it apart. But why? What is he building?" On the screen, they watched Tay carefully remove small pieces from the broken drone. He put these pieces in a bag made from leaves that hung at his side. "Should we stop him?" Lore asked. Vex thought for a moment. "No. This is too interesting to stop now. But add more challenges. Make it harder for them." Lore's fingers moved across his floating screen. "Yes, lead researcher. I'll start now." Later that day, Tay and the dragons found that half their water had turned bad. It smelled wrong and looked cloudy. Then strange animals appeared, just pictures made of light. But they looked real and made scary noises. The fake animals couldn't hurt them, but they kept Tay and the dragons from sleeping. "They're testing us," Tay told Sun as they sat in their cave that night. "They want to see if we'll fight each other when things get hard." Sun's good eye blinked. Slowly, she understood. Her tail moved in the pattern that Tay had learned meant agreement. "But we're smarter than they think," Tay said with a small smile. He opened his leaf bag and showed Sun the parts he had collected. "These are pieces of their system. If I can find more, I might be able to talk to their computers." Each day, Tay gathered more parts. Some came from broken drones. Others he found half buried in the dirt, left behind when the habitat was built. At night, he worked by firelight, putting the pieces together. The aliens made things harder. One day, all the food plants died. Another day, one whole side of the habitat became too hot to touch. Each time, Tay and the dragons found new ways to survive. Tay taught the dragons to hunt together. Sun would chase small animals toward Min and Jin, who waited hidden in the trees. He showed them how to find water in plant stems when the streams dried up. Together, they built better shelters that kept out the hot and cold. In the control room, more aliens had joined Vex and Lore. They all watched the screens with great interest. "Impossible," said one new alien. "No other species has ever formed such a complex alliance with the Draconis." "The humans are more dangerous than we thought," said another. Vex didn't speak. He just watched. His experiment was becoming famous across the consortium. But some were worried. What if the human and dragons became too smart together? What if they found a way out? Then came the day that changed everything. The habitat had regular maintenance times when small doors would open. Within the walls and robots would come in to fix things. Tay had noticed this pattern weeks ago. Today he was ready. When the maintenance door opened, Tay was waiting nearby, hidden behind trees with Sun. The robot came out and began fixing a broken water pipe. Tay gave Sun the signal. The big dragon roared and charged, not at the robot, but at a tree on the other side of the clearing. The robot turned its sensors toward the noise. In that moment, Tay ran to the open door. Inside was a small room with a computer terminal. This was what he had been looking for. Tay's heart beat fast as he looked at the alien symbols on the screen. But they weren't completely strange to him. In his military training, he had learned about different computer systems. Some parts looked the same no matter who made them. His fingers moved across the screen, trying different patterns. Suddenly the symbols changed color. The computer had accepted his touch. Files opened on the screen, maps of the habitat, information about the dragons, and there, information about himself. Tay Kim, human, subject, 47. Experiment duration, 23 days. Tay heard Sun make a soft warning sound from outside. The robot was coming back. He quickly touched more symbols, trying to save what he had learned. Before he left, he found one important thing, a way to talk to the computer from outside. Using the parts he had collected, he ran back to the trees just as the robot returned. The door closed with a soft hiss. "We're getting out of here," he promised Sun, who watched him with her intelligent eye. "All of us." That night, as Tay worked on his device, the aliens in the control room faced a new problem. Vex received a message on his personal screen. His hands shook as he read it. "What is it?" Lore asked. "The High Administrators are coming," Vex said, his voice tight. "They want to see this experiment for themselves. Some think it's too dangerous." "When will they arrive?" Lore asked. "Tomorrow," Vex said. "We must be ready. The human and dragons must perform perfectly." But Vex didn't know that Tay was already 3 steps ahead of him. In his hidden cave with the dragons standing guard, Tay connected the last wire in his device. A small light blinked on. He was in the system now. Freedom was within reach. The day of the High Administrator's visit arrived. Vex paced in the control room, checking screens and giving last-minute orders. Law rushed around, making sure everything looked perfect. Neither of them noticed the small device Tay had hidden near the habitat's main power line. The device waited, counting down. In his shelter, Tay prepared. He had made a simple bag to carry the few tools he'd created. Sun, Min and Jin waited nearby, their bodies tense with excitement. They could feel something was about to happen. "Today we leave," Tay told them. He used his hands to show what would happen. The dragons watched closely, their intelligent eyes, understanding. At exactly the right moment, Tay's device activated. The lights in the habitat flickered, then went completely dark. The fake sun above them disappeared. The humming of machines stopped. For 30 seconds, exactly as Tay had planned, everything was quiet. Then, all across the research station, doors slid open, not just in their habitat but everywhere. Every cage, every prison, every experiment chamber opened at once. Alarms began to sound. Red emergency lights came on. Tay moved quickly. "Now," he told the dragons. They followed him through the open habitat door. For the first time, they were in the hallways of the research station. The hallways were filled with confusion. Other creatures from other habitats ran free. Some were small and furry. Others had too many legs or strange glowing bodies. They all ran in different directions, scared and confused. "Security breach in all sectors," Law's voice came through speakers in the ceiling. "Multiple specimen containment failures." Tay smiled. The chaos was perfect. Guards would be busy chasing creatures all over the station. Meanwhile, Tay had only one destination in mind, the control center. "This way," he told the dragons. He had memorized the map from the computer terminal. Left at the next corner, then 2 rights, then up the big elevator. They moved through the halls, sometimes hiding when guards ran past. The dragons were surprisingly quiet for their size. When smaller creatures saw them coming, they ran away, in fear. No one tried to stop them. The control center doors were locked, but Sun fixed that problem. One strong hit from her tail and the doors broke open. Inside, Vex stood at his command station. His fingers moved frantically across screens, trying to fix the chaos. He didn't hear them enter until Sun growled. Vex turned, his big eyes growing, even bigger with shock. "Impossible," he whispered. "Hello, Doctor," Tay said calmly. Sun growled beside him, her teeth showing. "We need to discuss my participation in your experiment." Min and Jin moved to block the other doors. Tay walked closer to Vex, who backed away until he hit the wall. "How did you—" Vex started. "Your security needs work," Tay said. "Now I need access to the main system." Vex's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "I cannot allow—" Sun roared, the sound so loud it made the screens shake. Vex quickly changed his mind. Yes, of course," he said, moving to a large screen. His fingers shook as he entered codes. The main computer came online. A soft female voice spoke from the ceiling. "Central system activated. State request." Tay pushed Vex aside and placed his hands on the screen. The computer scanned his fingers, then his eyes. "Unusual neural patterns detected," the computer said. "Human cognitive architecture partially compatible. Limited access granted." Tay's military training included computer systems. He quickly found what he needed, a map of the station and the location of the ships. "Bring up security cameras," Tay ordered the computer. Screens around the room showed different parts of the station. Guards were running everywhere, trying to catch escaped creatures. A group of security officers was heading toward the control center. "We need to move," Tay told the dragons. "The docking bay, where are the ships?" he demanded of Vex. "Level 4, Section B," Vex said quickly. "But you'll never make it. Security teams are closing in." The door burst open. 3 guards in silver uniforms rushed in, holding weapons that crackled with electricity. They stopped short when they saw the dragons. Tay made a small hand signal. Sun, Min and Jin moved as one, placing themselves between Tay and the guards. The dragons didn't attack, but their message was clear. Come closer and die. The guards looked at each other, unsure what to do. "The docking bay," Tay commanded Vex. "Take us there now." With the dragons keeping the guards at bay, Tay forced Vex to lead them through the station. They took service tunnels to avoid most security. When they did meet resistance, the dragons' presence was enough to make most guards back down. The docking bay was huge. Ships of different sizes sat ready to fly. Tay chose a medium-sized one, its sleek body built for speed. "This one," he told Vex. "Open it and start the engines." The ship's door opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a cockpit with seats for 4. The controls looked complex but not impossible to learn. "Get in," Tay told Vex. "What? No, I cannot." "You're coming with us," Tay said, "at least until we're safely away." With Vex's reluctant help, the ship's engines started. The docking bay. Doors began to open. Freedom was just moments away. As the ship lifted off, Tay looked at Sun. The big dragon seemed calm despite never having been in a ship before. Her trust in him was complete. "First we take you home," he told her, as the station shrank behind them. "Then I find my way back to Earth." Sun pressed her scaled head against his hand. Her eye blinked slowly in understanding. Tay looked back at the research station, now just a small dot in the darkness of space. His eyes hardened with determination. "And then we return for the others." In the days that followed, across all consortium space, a new warning flashed on every screen. Humans. Extremely dangerous. Approach with caution. Demonstrates unprecedented ability to form alliances with hostile species. All capture operations. Suspended indefinitely. Far away on a ship racing through the stars, Tay smiled.